Never actually realized that the High Elven Archmages have their own uniquely colored eagles, depending on what lore of magic they have. Here, this replay from Killerinu, Lore of Fire on this really nice red eagle. Very cool. Up against Greenskins, High Elves. This is on the Cav beta, so these Reavers, and also on the flip side, the Wolf Riders, Spider Riders should be performing a little bit better here. But yeah, let's take a look at the builds here for High Elves. No Terror, very interesting, but Lore of Fire, very strong. Against Greenskins, certainly Fireball going to be cast there. Burning Head and Armor of Stars, of course, does give the Eagle stock and Unspottable up in the air. Very strong, potentially. The rest of the build here, we've got a bunch of Rangers in the front line. Looks like some Lothern Sea Guards, Lyrian Reavers, 2 Sisters of Averlorn, so there is some Kindle Flame synergy here. Of course, the High Elves do have quite a few units with innate fire damage, and can take really good advantage of Kindle Flame. On the Greenskin side, they have a few units which are weak to fire. Stone Trolls, River Troll Hag. Because the Sisters of Averlorn also do magic damage, essentially, the fire weakness gets mostly canceled out by the flame resistance, and then you just have the missile resistance to deal with. Only 25%, I guess 30% technically with the extra 5% can get even further debuffed by Kindle Flame while that's active, so really you just end up getting the armor-piercing damage versus the 70 armor mostly, and it turns into a decently favorable trade for the Sisters. Also got a couple of Black Orcs, Hammer of Gork here, Grom the Paunch, and River Troll Hag, some Orc Boys mixed with Goblins in the front line. Nice Burning Head right off the bat, going to be used to mostly leadership debuff these Cav here. A little bit of a damage spike as well on the Sisters of Averlorn that do land some shots there, able to rout off one Wolf Rider Archer, but still not too much value there. Meanwhile, in the center, the Lothern Sea Guard are getting absolutely pounded by that Hammer of Gork. Definitely an uncomfortable situation for them, but that's fine. Much better the Lothern Sea Guard, certainly, than the Sisters of Averlorn. Nice Kindle Flame proc there. It does look like the Fireball's going after said Hammer of Gork. You see the 8-peak loons there in the center getting absolutely shredded. Swing and a miss on the Fireball as the... yeah, it doesn't look like actually any of the artillery pieces have been destroyed. A little bit of bad RNG, but it is trickier to actually hit artillery pieces when firing from a high angle. It can be easier to hit like characters and monsters sometimes, but a lot of the time that ground level fire is more effective for hitting artillery targets. But man, 8-peak loons just getting absolutely shredded here in the center without having used any of their fanatics, as the Greenskin player just kind of stands off a little bit with the artillery. Definitely just want to charge in here. I mean, this pretty heavy archer presence here. You can try and sit and skirmish with the rock lobber and the archers here, the cavalry archers, but it's really not going to be super effective in terms of damage output. You're going to end up taking a lot more damage than it's worth it. But regardless, the Ranger's going to charge in here. Greenskins missed some of their charges. Looks like they did get the charges over on the left side here, but Rangers should trade just fine into Orc Boys and Goblins and whatnot. But over here, a lot of the micro for the Greenskin player going into this cavalry, which surprisingly hasn't taken too much damage, all things considered. But, you know, still got the Stone Trolls in the center, just patiently waiting. Looking for a right time to strike here. And the Black Orcs also not wanting to stray into the fire of those Sisters of Averlorn here. But because these high-value targets are coming in a little bit piecemeal, that is going to open them up. And you can see the Stone Trolls initially pretty resistant. I mean, the Sisters of Averlorn certainly getting effective damage. It's not wildly effective, but it is certainly something. Thankfully, the Stone Trolls don't have too much leadership. Taking a lot of shock damage like that, a lot of Overwatch fire, overlapping leadership debuffs. They are soon going to rout, and there, one of the Hammer of Gorks gets blown up. I guess that's how you'd see that, right? But anyway, as long as Grom the Paunch is still on the field, it's big danger, right? We got these Lyrian Reavers facing off the Spider Riders. They seem to be performing pretty well here. Haven't really been highlighting their micro too much, but Wah being popped now. It's going to give the Greenskins a nice little counterpunch here. You can see the Black Orcs get engaged on Rangers. We've got Trolls cleaning up more Rangers over here as well. So, meanwhile, the Skirmish Cavalry just trying to pull away some of these Reavers away from this backline protection. But the River Troll Hag's in pretty extreme danger. She doesn't have any magic resistance, right? A little bit of missile resistance, but not a lot to face off against these Sisters here. So that could be a pretty painful situation for her, but looks like she's just going to charge in instead. Meanwhile, got some Rangers coming back over here. Hammer of Gork used up most of its ammunition already, but the Rangers do look like they're going to go over there to try and shut it down. Grom also basically completely healthy at this point, has taken almost no damage from the High Elves at all. Could be a big factor in the late game here as the kind of overextension of the Rangers, they start to get cleaned up by the counterpunch of the Greenskins. We've got more Stone Trolls coming back over here. Reavers continuing to pressure away this Skirmish Cav, but a Spirit Leech coming from the Troll Hag going after Reavers there. Will chew a few models off. And honestly, in the Cavalry beta, it does stand to benefit like Elves, High Elves, Wood Elves, Dark Elves, all to a greater degree. You could make the case, at least, because their Cavalry tends to be lower HP in the first place, right? Like, you really don't have HP to give, so the fact that your Cavalry potentially taking less damage from those little infantry chip sources will make a pretty significant difference, I think, for High Elves especially, but for Wood Elves also, maybe arguably more so, given that their cavalry's all light armor. I certainly do rely on Reavers and Silver Helms and Dragon Princes. Having them be more effective should certainly help High Elves in the current state. Right now, things are looking pretty hectic. The Black Orc push is on. A lot of the, support units for the High Elves are starting to have some issues. A lot of ammunition has been used as well, so there's not a ton to deal armor piercing. In fact, there's not really any armor piercing units here, besides the Sisters of Avalorn to go after the Black Orcs, and they're both getting kind of tied up here by Grom and the Spider Riders, respectively. More Spirit Leech on them, again, just to continue to chew models away and keep up that DPS, even though it's arguably not super efficient from a model standpoint. It's still the most high-value unit the High Elves have on the field. Archmage is well out of range, so there's no chance of hitting her with that. Good old Red Eagle there, going to be flying back towards the fight, having chased off those other Stone Trolls, not allowing them to continue to regenerate, right? Yes. So we just got this one unit of Stone Trolls here, still fighting, backed up by some Spider Riders. Nice concave of Sea Guards about to get collapsed there, and these other Sea Guards just running from these Black Orcs, running to the hills. As long as there's, enough ammo left at the end of the game, I guess, if they get a nice surround and start to fire on these Black Orcs, could come back, but it's going to be tricky. Some more Reavers staying alive out here. Reavers, unfortunately, no shields, no missile block chance, means they're somewhat vulnerable to these kind of sneaky little attacks from the Spider Rider, Wolf Rider archers. Not a lot of damage, but again, low HP, no missile block chance. 40 armor is not too bad for a light cavalry unit, but it's not great. Still light cavalry, right? So, yeah. Certainly, Reavers often can be sacrificed, and here Killerinu attempts to sacrifice them to bail out the Sisters of Avalorn, but the Reavers actually decide not to do that, and they're going to go ahead and rout, which, I mean, I can't say I blame them. And things are looking pretty dicey. I mean, from a balance of power perspective, Grom is holding this up significantly, right? Grom, the River Troll Hag, the fact there's these two health units of Black Orcs, but besides that, really, for the Greenskins, there's not anything else. We could take a nice wide view of the battlefield here. There's a few tattered skirmish cavalry over here. Everything else pretty much getting routed off, right? So now that Red Eagle's back in position to start contributing, nice fireball there to the face, a little more Kindle Flame. Not that there's any sisters in a position to fire. Oh, no, there are over here. Okay. Not that the Kindle Flame's still active, but a little bit of extra armor-piercing damage on the Black Orcs certainly does help, even if they are whipping quite a few shots. It's supposed to be super accurate, right? It's just the way the arrow mechanics in this game work sometimes. But Reavers kind of charging in here. They're going to do decent damage on the River Troll Hag. Nice burning head as well. And this is a situation where the High Elves can actually start to deal some damage to these Black Orcs. Got the magic, you've got missiles coming in from all sides, just all these little small damage sources adding up over time. It's going to be the name of the game here. Black Orcs, one of the best heavy infantry units in the game. Certainly, definitely, in my opinion, the best great weapon unit overall, kind of for the cost. Even though Chosen technically are superior stats-wise, they do not have immune psychology, and Black Orcs just have the most HP of any unit in the game, pretty much, so not quite, but you get it. For an infantry unit, they are exceptionally beefy. But anyway, that's a little bit of a sidetrack. That extra HP and armor certainly does help. They've got a lot to try and work through here. So the leadership damage is critical, right? Getting rid of this River Troll Hag, potentially also getting rid of Grom. It's just there's not much burst left from the High Elves. Loth and Seaguard are going to have to go in the late game. Thankfully, they're not fully exhausted yet. They're only tired, so that does help them against their foes here. Yeah, we've got these Rangers, which are nice and fresh as well. Some more fresh Rangers down here. The Vigor will end up mattering if they get like a nice big surround all these tattered units fresh could probably defeat an exhausted Black Orc. Just keep that in mind. You know, law of large numbers wise, and also Vigor does debuff armor, so while it may say 110 on the tin, so to speak, that is going to be lower due to the effects of Vigor. They're not quite fully exhausted, but, well, that one is now fully exhausted, and any charges they do will pretty much immediately bring them to exhausted. Charging actually uses the most Vigor. Nice little cheeky charge there. Knocks down the River Troll Hag, who actually takes quite some time to get back up. The Reaver's also following up now, getting a little bit of a charge. Let's see, do they do much damage at all to the River Troll Hag? Nope, mostly just about screening. Actually do hammer into those Black Orcs, and I mean, if this was on the live patch, they probably all would have died already. But as it is currently, they're just going to die, you know, a few seconds slower, which is definitely what you would want. Actually, somehow still not dead, which is quite impressive, considering they're fighting Black Orcs. Now going to pull out of there. Does the cavalry beta help? It does seem to do so in live battles. I've been playing a few myself. I do plan on sharing some of those coming up very soon. But I've also been receiving quite a few replays from the cavalry beta as well, and it does seem like in practice that the changes do help. Again, it remains to be seen. Definitely need more data to say whether or not it's fully, you know, enough, but certainly does seem to help. Grom. Oh, just brutal sweeping attack there on those Lothern Sea Guards. Sea Guards are holding, though. I mean, there's a lot of them left still. And the Black Orcs are pretty much done for now, right? There's one more unit of Goblins forgotten about over here. I think they're maybe glad about that at this point. River Troll Hag also comes back, manages to shatter some Reavers. One more unit of Reavers going to go out there, try and take her out. I mean, only 50 armor with the 40 charge of these Reavers. Even though they don't have, you know, AP, 40 armor is really not much. They do get a little bit of a charge. Probably immediately going to rout, but here comes Red Eagle for the killing blow. There it is. The Reavers actually do not rout and get dispatched to chase those routing Black Orcs, which is going to be very good use of them at this point of the battle. All that's left really is for Grom the Paunch to just try and eat through this infantry blob, and for Red Eagle to come in here and cycle charge him, which is exactly what's going to happen here. So we'll get a little bit of close-ups. Haven't got too many cinematic shots of this battle. Red Eagle on the dive here against good old Grom. Big old Grom, who is starting to lose leadership. I mean, 100 armor on the chariot. Again, the fact that he's exhausted means he is going to be debuffed in that armor. I think it's 30%. I want to say I probably should know this off the top of my head, but regardless, another charge from Red Eagle here. 62 charge on the Eagle. Drayon is here, going to try and stabilize leadership, keep him in the fight, but it looks like Killerinu is going to be able to take this one home. Very cool. Very, very cool. Anytime you can win High Elves into Greenskins is impressive, and certainly doing so with no terror, and with Sisters of Averlorn, who, you know, in campaign, exceptional unit. In multiplayer, they can be a little bit risky, certainly in a matchup that can take good chariots, or light cavalry, I should say, which is obviously the Greenskins. They can be risky, but here they both almost pay for themselves, which is nice. Reavers also perform pretty decently. One of them 600 value, an extra XP chevron. Great job there. Just enough support at the end of the day to win, and it's a really nice kind of wide high elf build. Everything's all mutually supporting. Lothern Sea Guard generate excellent value as well. Someone recently said in a comment like Lothern Sea Guard are for noobs or something to that effect. I don't know what you're smoking. Lothern Sea Guards are amazing. They're a super strong unit. Anyway, yeah, Rangers, some of them actually do okay, and 2200 value for Red here. She is fantastic, and I do have to say the Archmage on the Eagle in general I'm a fan of. I haven't really used Lore of Fire too much for whatever reason. I tend to go with like Lore of Metal typically, but Fire is obviously going to be very good. Grom the Paunch, of course, 188 kills. Not actually that much damage value, surprisingly. It was a pretty wide high elf build, it must be said. But Black Orcs cleaning up quite a bit of value, as you would expect. That front line kind of evaporating pretty quickly ended up being almost an overextension, but not quite enough. I think losing the Stone Trolls early on was pretty painful. Even if one of them did come back and contribute a little bit in the late game, just wanted to have them both kind of sticking around through that main fight, I think. But regardless, very fun game. Big thanks to Killerinu for sending that one in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.